I'm Sid, and these are my best friends. My mom, Kim, my dad, Ty, my sister, Maddie, and our salty dog, Stella. We started our adventure refitting a Lagoon 450 before taking on the massive project of resurrecting a sunken 2021 Leopard 50. It's been one heck of a ride, but we're on this adventure to die with memories, not dreams, and live Dauntless.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sailing Dauntless. At first, to address some of the comments I've seen in the comment section, yes, this actually is a sailing channel. I know most of it's been building fun stuff with Ty, but we're doing that so that we can go sailing. And I am going to embark on a project this week, which is going to be crucial and a keystone element to making this boat work so we can go sailing. So are you trying to build an off-grid panel and you've got a boat like me, or maybe an RV or an off-grid cabin or some other cool place that you want to power up and know where all the switches and be able to turn everything on? Are you tired of prefabricated switch panels that either have too much equipment or wasted space, or not everything goes together and nothing matches, or you're just really anal like me and you want it just the way you'd like it? Well, that's what we're gonna do this week on Sailing Dauntless. So today I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna make this panel to fit our boat to allow us to switch everything that we need to control, monitor, and operate all of our equipment. Now the tool I'm gonna use to do that is going to be the tool I used last week, and that is our xtool D1 Pro 20-watt diode laser. Now this really cool tool cuts all kinds of stuff, which we'll probably get into in the future. I'm almost guarantee it, because I've got all kinds of projects dreaming up in my brain here about things I'm gonna build with this nifty tool that cuts, well, just about everything but metal. But for this week, I have roughly a 20-inch square space to work with, and I've got a panel that's bigger than that. So I'm gonna show you how to take this cool artwork or files or layout that I've designed and how I'm gonna cut it and take you from start to finish on how to build a custom panel for your off-grid or my off-grid system. So let's talk about what's gonna go in this panel. Well, the old one had switches, battery monitors, all kinds of various things that the manufacturer pieced and parted together from different suppliers. Now, the main panel was run by a Blue Sea 360, I believe is what they call it, custom panel. They're very cool, and if you have a modest size panel that you really want to specify labels and different voltages and all of those kinds of things, they will make it for you. Well, I'm gonna make mine for two reasons. One, I have a space limitation. I only have about 19 wide by 26 inches tall to be able to put all of this equipment in. And if I use a Blue Sea panel, it would wind up a lot bigger than that with all of the breakers I'm gonna put in, which I'll get to in a minute. Now, these systems you can design, they will produce them for you, double check that you're actually getting what you want, and they'll mail it off to you in a few months. Well, I'm impatient and I want to put air conditioning in the boat, and I also don't want to spend the $4,500 that it would cost to get close to what I am going to do here. And I will go over the costs at the end, so you kind of can wrap your brain around what this is actually going to cost to get the level of switching and control that we've got. So let's start there. What kind of switching are we going to put in? I am actually going to use a Blue Sea breaker because I think they make the best electronic switching, controls, bus bars, all of that fun stuff. Quality stuff, really well built, and you can trust it. Now, the breakers that are used in this really cool 360 panel that I originally thought that I was gonna put in the boat are these Blue Sea flat, I don't know if you can see that guy, it is a flat breaker. So this is on and that's off. So you can easily tell what's on and off in the boat. Why is that important? Well, I chose this breaker because it's easily recognizable when it's on and off, because parasitic draw is a real thing. And when you're monitoring a power system on an off-grid setup and you don't have the luxury to plug into the grid and just pay an extra couple dollars here or there for things that you would just like to leave plugged in, you really need to know what's happening. A lot of equipment that we all own, laser printers, TVs, entertainment stuff, kitchen appliances, that you leave plugged into the wall have parasitic draw. Now, parasitic draw means the tool's not operating and it very well may be off, but it's still consuming a certain level of energy. And those parasitic draws add up in a hurry. Our last boat, our Lagoon 450, the parasitic draw with everything on in that boat was nearly 70 watts an hour. Well, you may think, Ty, 70 watts, that's nothing. But if you do the math on it, 70 watts times an hour times 24 hours in a day equals this amount of energy. This amount of energy takes this amount of solar panels to be able to just make up for the waste. So of course we want to be able to turn stuff off so we don't have to do that. So that brings me to why I'm making such a big ado about this panel. I want to be able to individually control and monitor every piece of equipment and every system on the boat from one location. I need a drink, I'm thirsty. Now, how was the boat set up before? Well, it had major switches for lighting over here and lighting over there and circuits on this side of the boat and circuits, plug-in circuits like an outlet you'd plug into on that side of the boat. A very limited but useful control over the power on the boat. Well, we're adding a lot more equipment to this boat, and things like a washer and a dryer, microwave, ovens, cooktops, all of those things with circuit boards and brains in them can use additional energy. So I'm going to put a breaker on every single one. In total, there will be 94 breaker slots. I don't have 94 breakers, but I want space between groups of voltages, and I'm going to want to be able to expand in the future if I change something. So I have to get all of these in that panel so that I can do exactly what I'm describing. Well, what else is going to be in there? I will have 4 bilge switches with fusing, which will control the 2 bilges that are in the main hulls and also the 2 bilges that are in each engine room. In addition, I'm going to have a replacement for the generator control. This is the new one because the old one sank. And this allows me, of course, to stop the generator, monitor hours, water temperature, whether or not it's charging its own battery, and oil pressure. So I'll be able to monitor all of that from this. Now, when this is producing energy, or we've got shore power coming in, or solar, or we're consuming energy, that is actually going to be monitored with this bad boy. This is a Victron Energy Touch 70. We had a 50 in the last boat. I believe that was a 5-inch screen. This is going to be a 7-inch screen. And this consolidates all of the data from all of our Victron components and battery monitoring. So I know how much power is coming in and how much power is going out. So between turning switches on and off, paying attention to this guy, this is going to allow us to really neck down and reduce the waste on the boat so we can try to get as close as possible to have this boat run off of sunshine. All right, enough of that. Let's get on to actually building something. I'm going to clean up my mess, bring out my laser cutter, my D1 Pro, and my new enclosure that's going to allow me to extract all the fumes so that I don't have to breathe any of that stuff in or run inside while this is cutting, and I can actually watch what's happening. Another cool thing that's going to happen is, well, the panel's bigger than the machine, and I'm going to show you how I cut this big panel on this machine that actually has a smaller work area. All right, enough talking. Let's get to it. All right, guys, sorry about the wind noise. It's I got fans blowing in here because it's pretty toasty. I have been doing a bunch of practice cuts on this machine, and I've decided that the drawing that I've come up with is going to work perfectly, I believe. Now, there's a couple challenges that's going to come with that. One, I need to make sure that my settings are correct for the software that I'm using. I'm using a product called Lightburn, and it is a aftermarket software you can use with all different kinds of laser engravers and cutters. And all that has worked really fabulous, and it's going to allow me to take this panel, and I actually have to cut the digital file into 4 pieces because this is not large enough to be able to cut it, as I talked about before. Now, the challenge I've had is I've got to be able to square and register this entire space, this entire work surface, and you've got to be able to do what they call home the machine. And see if I can show you this. So home position, for example, is to be able to get all the way into one corner of the machine. And the challenge I'm having is as this rolls all the way back, this cabling right here is jamming, and it is binding and not allowing the carriage to run all the way back. Now, I've installed it how I think the manufacturer wants me to do it, but it's not working out terribly well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to run these over top to try to give clearance and prevent any binding of these cables. Now, I've taken it off to do this modification right now, but I do have an enclosure that I've elevated up in the air to be able to feed this large sheet through, and that's working out really well. I've got a hose that runs outside the garage, and there's no odor, and of course I don't want to be smelling any of that nasty stuff. Also, it has a see-through cover that has a filter on it that helps block the blue light for safety, because it is like looking at a welding arc or something like that. So you do want to protect your eyes, and I didn't want to wear the big safety glasses, so the shroud on the laser plus the enclosure completely neutralizes that light, and that'll basically protect me. So I'm going to wrestle this apart right now. I am pushing up against the ability to get you guys a video this week, and I'm doing my best. I'm hoping that this doesn't delay or push off the video, but sometimes this is the reality of doing these projects. This is a brand new tool. I'm using 2 brand new pieces of software, and the learning curve's a little steep. So I'm doing my best, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it wrapped up so I've got something cool to show you guys, well, this Sunday. I only have 1 day to go, so I better get on it. It's go time. Turn my light on here. All right. We are in the exact same spot. Those little dots are what I'm looking for. All right, guys, so I think we're good to go.
Making it possible.
All right, so I've got this guy set up for the tiling. So I've got my second marks in. Sorry it's loud in here, but I'm going to show you what the framing looks like, and then I'm gonna hit go, and fingers crossed, all of our straight lines where all the breakers and all the screws line up. This is gonna be a super critical part. If it's not straight, I'm gonna have to do it again. So, again, wish me luck. All right, so the first thing it's going to cut is going to be the outline for where the labels are going to be. I made a little etch and a score the same size as the labels that I'm gonna cut later. Now, after it's done cutting that, then it'll cut those channels for those breakers, and I'll be able to line up that with the straight edge and the labels and the screw holes to make sure that it's perfectly straight. If it's not, I'm gonna have to start over again. But it's looking good so far. And I mean, I have a lot of tools and I work with a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna tell you guys, this has been extremely stressful. That little panel I cut last week was a no-brainer. There's only like 10 cuts in it. This, I had to use 2 pieces of software and a new piece of equipment. The learning curve was like this, and it's definitely challenged me. I like it, and it's cool, but it's definitely put me outside of my comfort zone as far as construction goes. All right, let's wait, let's watch the camera and see what happens here in a few minutes. All right, so down here on the machine, I'll show you. It looks like it's gonna be about a 27-minute runtime. And it doesn't show me. I haven't been able to figure out how to track it on the screen where the laser head's moving. It must be a setting, but with all the learning I've been doing, I haven't quite figured that out. So if you have any idea how this works and you're a laser geek, leave me a comment down below and let me know what setting and what toggle switch I'm missing on that. But it's looking really, really good. I put on my goggles, open the lid, and look down the line, and near as I can tell by the naked eye, I think it is perfectly straight. So this is a really, really cool feature. This is tile 2 of 4. Once we get this one knocked out, I'm pretty confident that if this goes well, that the rest of them I should just be able to smash out. So I'll get back here in a few minutes and show you what it looks like. All right, crew, it is 12:30 in the morning, and I have been struggling with this damn thing, and I'm not happy, but I'm gonna grind through and finish it tonight, and then tomorrow morning I'm gonna sit down and go over my thoughts on this process with this particular piece of equipment, limitations, and kind of what I think I could do better. I could probably pass this off as, well, is anybody really gonna know? Maybe not, but I will. And it just isn't quite as crisp and as clean as what I'd like. So I'll talk about options, how we can make it better, and I'll stop blabbering because it's in the middle of the night, but I think I can grind through it. I'll see you guys in the morning, but until then, I'm gonna laser on, and you guys have a good night. All right, guys, following morning, and I had a bit of a crash and a snafu last night. Right after I told you I was gonna finish cutting it, the machine caught a piece of debris and slid everything sideways, and well, at 1 a.m. I was just a little too tired to do it again. So I'm up here this morning. I've got the third of 4 cuts done, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'm gonna put it in here, make the last cut, and then we're gonna sit down and chat about how I could make this better. All right, guys, so this was an epic fail, and it was an epic fail on my part. And it's a bit of a struggle with me because usually I just kind of have that thing where me and tools just get along. And this time it was the tool and the software and learning multiple systems, and it just whooped my butt. That's the first part. Now, I wouldn't say that any of this individually is a difficult thing to learn, and I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing it. However, maybe buy one thing at a time, like buy the laser, practice with the software, practice with another piece of software. Maybe do more than one project before you decide to get into something crazy complex like this, that precision is absolute key. So my takeaway, one, if you need to do projects bigger than 18 inches by 18 inches, just buy the extension kit or buy a laser that's big enough to accommodate the space that you have. Now, there is an exception to that. There are lasers that have something called pass-through on, where you can just feed it through and there's a continuous roller system designed to do this, where this system is not that way. It has a honeycomb bed that the material sits on, but when it's too big and it's too thin and floppy, it actually just sags, which causes a ton of issues. So, let me show you the stuff that I screwed up on, and how I'm gonna fix it is I'm ordering an extension kit. You actually can make this laser go from 18 inches square to 18 by 36 inches. So I'm gonna order that, and I'm hoping it'll come here in the next few days, and I'll be able to recut this thing and actually get it installed. But in the meantime, super happy with how easy it is, relatively speaking, with the right equipment. to get into a system and draw and design and build something that you would pay thousands of dollars for a factory to do, and it is completely customized to what you need. And the other beauty is, if you don't like it, you can just cut a new one. This piece of acrylic is like $25. So the loss, I guess, isn't that bad. But let's look at where I screwed up. So this worked out really well. This right here is gonna be where the Touch 70 goes, and all my little registration marks are good. The little holes, these are 2mm tiny holes. All that got done well. This was the first section that I cut, and that worked really, really well. But when it got down to here, the table got bumped or something happened. And what ended up happening is it jogged this section right here. It jogged it over just a little bit. Now, okay, fine, I kind of knew that we were on a downhill slide when it came to that, but then I come up here and I get this situated. This actually cut really well, and it lined up extremely well. But then the fourth cut, so tile cuts 1, 2, 3, 4, I had trouble on this bottom side as well, and it's not the machine, it's the fact that this material sags, and the more you cut out of it, the more flexible that it becomes. And you can see here where this side jogged, well, it jogged this way, and this side right here jogged this way. And I really believe that was just positioning in the machine, not being able to put magnets on it to hold it down, because it flexes, because there's a frame around this honeycomb that kind of holds that holds the honeycomb together. And when you bridge across that, there's no real support in the middle. So, oh, and there's one more. You like that one? That's because I didn't home the machine in the top corner before setting a cut, and well, it put that where it's not supposed to go. Now, for clarification, this is a matte black on one side and it is gloss on the other. And Kim and I have decided that we really like the look of the matte black. So it looks just like that. I don't know if that's gonna kind of show up here. There we go. And I think that looks pretty snazzy compared to something like this. No fingerprints, fingerprints. So anyhow, I will be cutting another one, so I'll get more acrylic this coming week. I'll get the new kit. Hopefully it'll show up in enough time that I can get this knocked out by the end of next week. But let me know what you guys think, if you like the matte color or if you like the acrylic. Did I get in over my head? Was this an epic fail or was it just a learning curve? I don't know, but thank you for joining me on my failure week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Again, subscribe if you don't, like if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next week. I wanted to show you what it looks like when it's kind of put together and get your guys' opinion on something. So outside the shiny versus matte acrylic, tell me what you think of this. So Kim pulled off all of the masking for the most part, except for where some of the labels are at. You can see how there's a score line around the outside. That's just a registration point, so when I glue on or double side tape on the label, I've got a registration point, so they're all perfectly straight, just like all the screws of course have to be straight up and down. Tell me what you guys think. Blue Sea flat raised rocker breaker. Do you like the flush screw in there, or do you like the raised button head screw? You can tell I think I'm kind of leaning this direction, but we'll see. Generator control panel fits right inside that space. Fuses for the bilge pumps. Instead of putting those on breakers, I'm just putting them on fuses. I think this might be a little tight. Your finger kind of hits the fuse top and bottom, so maybe spreading these guys out just a little bit wouldn't be horrible. And then of course our Touch 70 will be mounting kind of through that little hole right there, and all those little tiny holes will mount this black plastic frame to snap that in. But let me know what you guys think. That's a lot of breakers. I think it looks pretty snazzy. Yeah?
It does, and I'm excited, and I'm sorry that you had a bobo.
Wah wah. Fail.